Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd. It is a new moon week. We are well into June. I was looking over the week and I can't believe that we are already halfway through June. That just blows my mind. Of course, this time of year is very busy and starts to become very busy, making a lot of plans, going to a lot of parties, being full on Gemini season. It's a good time to get out and socialize. And we do have a lot of that air energy supporting us now since Mercury, the ruling planet of the sign of Gemini, has moved into his home sign. And so, of course, we're getting an extra boost of this really active mind, this mental quickness when Mercury is in his home sign. When any planet is in its home sign, it really just functions really nicely, is super comfortable, very much kind of feels like putting the feet up a little bit, getting comfortable. And Mercury doesn't actually have a ton of time to get super comfortable this time around in Gemini, because it's already, by the time this new moon comes in this Saturday, June 17th, Mercury is already going to be at 11 degrees of Gemini, which is basically halfway through. So we're looking at a 2-week cycle here with Mercury just having a very, very heightened state of awareness. Everything mental is going to be buzzing. So if you feel like there's just more going on in your head, you're able to connect things a little easier. Communication's also going to be happening very quickly right now, but also there is like something in the air about communications actually getting places before you even intend them to. I've personally been having some sort of, I don't want to call it like psychic, but that's kind of what it's been. I've been having these like psychic thoughts coming in. So I feel the quickness of the mind, like the answers are already there before you even ask the question, so that is very much the mental state right now. And Gemini is an air sign and is a very social sign, very much into, putting on, like being charismatic and kind of putting on that real fun, super easy to relate with, really good in one-on-one relationships, really charismatic. So this is a really great time for communication. This is also a time where if you are an avid communicator already, if you have Mercury in Gemini in your birth chart, that this is going to be activating a lot of extra communication. You could be feeling some of those real intuitive kind of moments, as I was just talking about, having thoughts and flashes of things even before the information is needed, and then being very amazed that you already had the information there with you. So Gemini themes, very hot, very active this week. We also have the moon, as I mentioned, waning into a new moon. And so when we are in that last week of the lunar phase, we have the moon in Taurus, Tuesday the 13th through the evening of June 15th. I'm talking all West Coast times. These are all Pacific Coast times where I'm given this report from. And so this is a closing week. This is a closing week. We have the Taurus moon. And then, of course, after Taurus, the moon goes into Gemini, which is where this new moon is taking place on Saturday evening. And so it's a closing cycle. The new moon is all about making new intentions. And so come the weekend, we're going to have the opportunity to really, truly, as I was just mentioning, those Gemini themes, start a new cycle in regards to some of those Gemini themes. So it's a good thing to look in your natal birth chart and check out where Gemini is. What house is that? There are 12 houses in astrology, and they all rule different parts of life. One of them's about yourself and understanding yourself. One of them is about social, relationships. Another one's about our legacy in the world. And so the 10th house would be like our legacy in our career and so on and so forth. You can look all about it. There is a lot of information. It would take me a lot of time to go through all of the houses, but look and see where Gemini lands, what house that is in your birth chart. That's where you're going to be setting these new moon themes. But sort of moving backward just a little bit, we have some other influences going on this week that I just am a little excited about. It's kind of like a frisky feeling of a week anyways. There's also a lot of Pisces energy. There's a lot of Scorpio energy, which is very emotional. And I am also referring to the fact that Venus and Mars are traveling so closely together. They are in the sign of Leo, which is a hot and spicy, fun-seeking, but also a very loving sign, and very much a sign that's, just a fire sign, is all about showing feelings, and so we've got a lot of emotional stuff going on. We've also got a lot between this Mars and Venus relationship that's going on right now. So after sunset, if you haven't already seen Venus in all of her amazing glory, no wonder, that she has been such an important aspect of life for so long. And she's just so bright and brilliant after sunset. And then just right behind her, creeping in, doing the dance down, following the sun with her, is Mars. And so it's been very cool to see them so close together. They're not going to come into a conjunction. They're not actually going to meet, because Venus is going to be starting to slow down and go into her shadow to prepare for her retrograde cycle that starts later in July. But they are just dancing together, moving together down into the sunset, and it's quite spectacular. So if you haven't gotten a chance to see that one, or thought you were seeing spaceships or something, that's what that is. And so I mentioned also we have a lot of Saturn energy this week. So Saturn is in Pisces with Neptune. Neptune is the another watery, emotional energy, and Saturn is more of a responsible sort of the energy that helps us to say no and helps us to create boundaries, and really helps us to understand and be accountable, for our actions and be feeling super responsible. That's Saturn energy. But Neptune is very much boundary-less, very much about the ethereal and about all the things that are mysterious and things that we can't put our thumb on. You just can't pinpoint it. And Saturn and Neptune are two not conflicting energies, but they are two very different energies, and they're both hanging out in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is a water sign. It's very emotional. It's ruled by Neptune. So it is very 12th house and very ethereal ethereal energy also. This is like the collective unconscious is what Pisces really represents. It's the very last sign of the zodiac, represents the 12th house and is like the collection of everything. Pisces is very much a spiritual sign. It's very intuitive. It's very psychic. And Saturn is going to be making first a square with Mercury on June 15th. That is Thursday this week. And Mercury already being so active and so prevalent and creating and just like a really fast moving energy right now, really bringing in some more of that psychic intuition from the sign of Pisces in this square between, it would be Mercury, the faster moving planet, with Saturn. A square is generally sort of a challenging aspect. This is also where we can sort of come to a crosshairs. We come to a crossing point, right? A square is a 90-degree angle. So you can turn that way or that way. And so it's an opportunity to find a new direction, to have a mental breakthrough here between this really intuitive Pisces energy where Saturn is going to be also representing, things that we may feel responsible for, some of these, parts of us that's like, I really feel like this is really important for me to give, or I really feel like this is a really important direction for me to go. That's like spiritual responsibility. And that is the work that Saturn is doing as it's moving through the sign of Pisces. It's realizing where we are responsible in the collective unconscious. What is it that we are giving or not giving, or we need to give more of, or maybe what is it that we need to give less of, that we need to say, no, that's enough. And that is wasting me enough. I'm not able to focus on the rest of my responsibilities because this is taking over for whatever reason. So Thursday this week, I feel like is like this mental breakthrough, and we have this opportunity to travel in a new direction. There's going to be potentially new awakenings with new ideas because Mercury is like pulling in all of this amazing intuition. We are having the answers appear to us before we even ask the questions with Mercury moving through Gemini. There could be some new shocking news that comes out. There could be some new information, that is retrieved or that suddenly hits society or you in your life, some new information that makes you head in a new direction, either mentally, because that's kind of the focus here, or potentially, taking a new direction in life also. But I see this being very mental, and I see this being like making a choice to really, travel in a new direction mentally. So then the moon actually comes in the next day on June 16th and makes a square with Saturn, bringing in how we feel about all of this. The moon, of course, is the mood and creates the focus for the day. So the focus then just becomes more about the information that we've just gotten, the new choice the new direction, that we've just gone in. And it becomes another day, a secondary day where the moon is coming through and activating this square very strongly, once again, coming into a conjunction with Mercury just 4 hours after squaring Saturn. So I feel like this is like extended choice points. Like we're going to be given more opportunities on Friday to go in some new direction. So wow, this just kind of feels like one of those weeks. It's going to be very emotional. Also, we're feeling very emotional about some changes or some choices, that we need to make. But that's not just it. it. We have on the 17th of June a couple of big events. This is when we have Saturn officially stationing to go retrograde. So Saturn having all of this, influence this week, and then also being traveling very slow and moving into a retrograde fashion where we're going to be going back and reviewing some of the information that we've been given. Retrogrades are the opportunity to review, reassess, edit, redo things. It's more opportunity to see where maybe some little tweaks need to be made. We're going to be in the retrograde cycle with Saturn for many months. The Saturn is known as the Lord of Karma, also known as the Time Lord. So when Saturn goes retrograde, there's almost like everything kind of goes timeless a little bit, because a retrograde is physically in the sky. You can see it traveling backwards. It's an optical illusion from where we are on planet Earth that things are moving forwards and backwards. But Saturn retrograde is going to be a good deep one. This is when time kind of slips away and we have an opportunity to move into this new moon right after, on the same day of this retrograde, this new moon in Gemini. So that's going to be very interesting. We really take our foot off. We're really pressing, taking our foot off of the gas pedal and putting our foot on the brake here on Saturday. And then we have this true slowdown with the new moon energy. So that's going to be very interesting. And this week is definitely loaded, because I was not only, trying to look into, just feel into this new moon energy, but also just this Venus-Mars is really grabbing my attention in Leo. Just the fact that they have come so closely together really means a lot for these two in the sky. This is really big for relationships, not just romantic relationships, but I feel like this one is more focused around intimate relationships. This is an opportunity to get closer, because Leo represents the heart. So we are feeling very passionate and very heartfelt. So follow your hearts when it comes to love this week, and like where you need to go in relationships. We have the nodes just now in the very last degree of Taurus and Scorpio, which are like the signs of deep, deep love also, and fertility, and, finding that security, that we find through intimacy. So, that's also another place to turn this week. If you're feeling like you need to get intimate, then it would be a good week to do that, because the energies out there in the skies are supporting that. So big, interesting week in the astrology, and I'm always happy to discuss. If you have any questions, you can email me at thecosmiccommunity@kpov.org. And I wish you a very, very delicious new moon in Gemini, and I will talk to you next week. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.